Hello everyone, this is our Passion Week devotional series, and today we will be reading scripture from John chapter 13 verses 12 to 17, and this is what it says. When he had finished washing their feet, he put on his clothes and returned to his place. "Do you understand what I have done for you?" he asked them. "You call me teacher and Lord, and rightly so, for that is what I am. Now that I, your Lord and teacher, have washed your feet, you also should wash one another's feet. I have set you an example that you should do as I have done for you. I tell you the truth, no servant is greater than his master, nor is a messenger greater than the one who sent him. Now that you know these things, you will be blessed if you do them." I love this imagery of Jesus washing the disciples' feet. You can just feel the awkward shock that they were experiencing. I mean, after all, Jesus was their master. He was their Lord, as he confirms in the text today. And you can just imagine sort of the shock element as Jesus is kneeling and putting a towel around him and starts washing people's feet. But also, it's not just a shocking scene, it's a haunting moment, because this is quite literally the last hours that he will spend together with his beloved disciples before he has to take on the cross. So what's going on? What's going on in this scene in which Jesus washes his disciples' feet? Why is Jesus washing their feet? Now, back in the days of Jesus, when people wore sandals and walked over unpaved, dusty, and muddy roads, getting your feet dirty was just life. You could almost say that the traces of filth left in people's feet told their own story. It's kind of poetic that way, where they have been. What journeys have they taken? What roads have they walked? Have they stepped on something that they should have not? Have they hurt themselves? Was it raining that day? Did they walk through the wilderness? In many ways, the dirtiness of the feet was the story of those people's lives. Now, similar to that, people in general, we carry traces of all sorts of experiences. Our hurts, our fears, often our dysfunctions as well, and so on, so on. Now, you may be asking why I do not mention the positive experiences. Well, generally those tend to have a favorable effect in our lives. But it is often the negative experiences, the hard experiences, that speak loudest. And it is those messes that ultimately make all of us, difficult to love. And that is essentially what is happening in this picture with Jesus, washing his disciples' feet. They all carried some baggage. They all, in their own right, were utterly unqualified to be the disciples of the Lord of all creation. And because of the loads they all carried, it made them difficult to love. The dirty feet that Jesus is washing is the perfect analogy of the messes that make even all of us difficult to love. Take the disciples, for example. Many of them had misplaced expectations. They cared more about their own glory, of their own place in the world, rather than what was Jesus' true purpose. One of them was particularly impulsive, and I imagine Jesus had some issues reining in Peter's impulsiveness at times. One of them would betray Jesus. One of them, the one we just mentioned before this, in his own huge hubris, would end up denying Jesus 3 times after he had declared he would die for Jesus. And all of them would eventually desert Jesus. And Jesus knew this. Jesus knew this. How could we say that they were not difficult to love? And yet, Jesus loved them unconditionally. Now, you may have an objection to me saying that you are also not the easiest person to love. Now, I know I'm not. I really do. And if we are honest and look within ourselves, I trust that we will come to the conclusion that we are indeed difficult to love. There's always something beneath the surface, something that is deeply ingrained in all of us that makes us difficult to love. Maybe it's the fact that we're too controlling. Maybe it's that we are cold. Maybe it's that we are obsessed with our own self-image. Maybe it's that we get withdrawn and unapproachable. The truth is that any small character flaw can make us impossible to love at times. And all this is our dirty feet. But remember this, despite all that is within you, you were loved by Jesus deeply and to the point of death. As you consider how Jesus loved you, died for you, washed your dirty feet, I want you to pay attention to your surroundings, to the people around you, especially the ones who are difficult to love. The more difficult they are to love, the more grace will appear in your life as you do so. Pay attention to the dirty feet you see around you and listen once more to the words of Jesus. Now that I, your Lord and teacher, have washed your feet, you also should wash one another's feet. I have set you an example that you should do as I have done for you. Now let me ask you this. Whose feet will you wash today? See you tomorrow.